Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist at the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first on the hazardous weather graphic, we've got wind advisories remaining out here for all the yellow shaded areas here from Galena up to Ambler, eastward into the Tanana area, on east to the Yukon Flats, southern Brooks Range area. And actually there are winter weather advisories in these areas here for 1 to 3 inches of snow, possibly as much as 5 total accumulation continuing tonight. Wind advisories, 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts, possible gusts to 40 miles an hour, maybe a little higher. Those should be just about over for tomorrow. And then for the breakup map here, we've got a flood advisory out on the Tanana River from roughly in the Salsa area around Boondocks Bar for flooding there near the Richardson Highway. That just came out this afternoon, and there's also a flood advisory out on the Kuskokwim River from Red Devil to Crooked Creek on that area there. So, and those are both due to ice jamming. So a couple of those now showing up, flood, ice jam type flood advisories out, and still slowly breaking up here along the Tanana River. Some areas mostly open, but still on down toward Tanana. It's pretty well iced in, as well as the northern rivers, and seeing a little bit of breakup here in some of the southern ones as well. Satellite imagery showing low pressure up here over the northwest interior, and as that pulled northward, or pulls a little to the east, north winds kicking in St. Lawrence Island, especially the Bering Strait there last hour. Tin City north, 45 miles an hour sustained there, and northwest winds 15 to 25 across St. Lawrence Island, pulling the colder air back in there for snow and areas of snow or rain and snow in the afternoon here, with this feature back up through here, scattering out down towards the Bethel area and the Kuskokwim Delta, and then some moisture right through here with a weak frontal boundary around Kodiak Island. Showers in that area, really not much at the state airport there, mostly either back to the west or up to the northeast here, right on up to the North Gulf Coast areas, and then that slides eastward there, so you can see right on into the southeast coast with areas of light rain and showers there as well. It looks like a few breaks tapering off up to the north. Northway, eastern Tanana Valley looks partly sunny, or at least a few breaks in the clouds there. Instead of just solid clouds, a few breaks. On up to the Arctic coast, cloudy skies, then a breakout here over the Bering Sea, thinner clouds from the Pribilofs down to Unalaska and over toward Adak, but then some more moisture sliding into Shemya. Putting that into motion again, you can see the kind of a southward push here, some colder air coming out of the Russian Far East on the backside of this low center, and that looks like might spill into the Pribilof Islands tonight, and this system not all that strong out there, with some rain around Shemya and that too. On the chart today, you can see the front roughly right through south central Alaska here. Independence Mine picked up 0.4 of an inch of rain since midnight last night. That was one of the heavier amounts reported. Cordova, 0.2 of an inch. Over in the Panhandle low, Klawock had 0.07 of an inch as compared to about 0.15 at Gustavus. Again, that period since midnight. We've got rain and snow showers here, especially along this trough back to the northwest there. They'll be dropping on into the Pribilof Islands, and then some warm front rain out there with that system. Again, not very strong at all, really not much of a wind producer. And winds still pretty gusty here, anywhere from 20 to 35 miles an hour across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, southwest interior areas. But those will be dropping off. Galena saw gusts to 40 miles an hour today. And again, those winds here on the backside of that low, really blowing through the Bering Strait currently. At Tin City, you're seeing gusts 45 miles per hour. And this front mostly lifting the snow off the coast during the afternoon today, kind of lingering over there on the east side, and then the snow back around with the main low center. For tonight, that continues to drift northward. Cold air flow in behind, so snow showers, areas of snow, Seward Peninsula, down into the Yukon Delta, and then scattering out, not becoming more isolated over the Kuskokwim Delta, except for the mountains here, Kilbrook-Auckland Range. Scattered showers, rain or snow, southeast Bering, sliding into Bristol Bay, and some light rain and fog with this system. Again, pretty weak system out there as it pushes eastward, not maybe a little bit of moisture into the AKwx area, and that's about it. And then kind of a wave tracks northeastward here. So along the frontal boundary, that tends to nudge it over to the east a little bit. This portion here breaks free and pushes off into Canada. But southwest flow keeps it wet from the North Gulf Coast all the way from the Kenai Peninsula into the northern panhandle. This isolated showers southern southeast coast and scattered showers over the interior. A lot less of the shower activity over the eastern interior. And for the outlook for tomorrow, Tuesday, we've got, again, rain and snow or snow showers here, eastern interior, a little bit of a break, central Tanana Valley, and then kind of an enhancement of that condition, again, with this trough here, slowly pushing eastward, right up to the Alaska Range, rain and snow showers from northeast Bristol Bay, right up across central Tanana Valley into the Brooks Range. And this low slowly pulling eastward keeps it pretty snowy and breezy here up over the northwest part of the state. Not as bad there over the Norton Sound area, just some scattered snow showers with a lot less wind. Higher pressure makes for a dry day, or at least a dry afternoon, with partial clearing here for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas. And then that front pushes rain in over the central and northern panhandle, tending to be a lot less, but cloudy over the southern areas. Scattered showers here southeast Bering Sea, and a narrow band of very light rain, drizzle, and fog. Probably just IFR conditions with this, and it gets a little more extensive there to the north, but staying to the west of the Pribilofs. And looking ahead to the outlook for Wednesday, we've got now up here a couple of low centers with a cold front right along there. Coldest air, of course, the Arctic air, north side of that. Areas of snow showers or light snow with that feature. Looks like the main area of snow will be over in Canada, with lighter amounts here back to the west across Alaska out to the Chukchi Sea. And this system driving northeastward or pushing northeastward actually strengthens a little bit from what it looked to be tomorrow here, with probably small craft advisory level winds, Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay up along the southwest coast, with increasing chances for rain and snow. And looks pretty good though. Northern Yukon Delta into the central interior areas, Kuskokwim Valley, south central Alaska, dry, variably cloudy, some afternoon sunshine. North Gulf Coast, chance of showers, southern panhandle, chance of sun up to the northern areas. And looking at the lows tonight for the southeast coast, about the same as you've seen, 30s to lower 40s, 30s here for southern Alaska, lower 30s Tanana Valley, and Brooks Range, lower 20s. Teens again for the North Slope and Arctic coast. Lower 20s back over the Seward Peninsula from Kotzebue Sound, Noatak Valley, on down to the mid-20s for St. Lawrence Island, and lower 30s, the Pribilofs, 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, also for the Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow afternoon, out that way, lower 40s for the Aleutians, near 40 for the Pribilofs, 50 for Kodiak, and 45 to 51, Susitna Valley, Manuska Valley, and Kenai Peninsula areas. 40s to the lower 50s southeast coast, mid-20s up along the Arctic coast, and lower 40s through the 40-mile country, or actually over toward the eastern border, a little closer to 50, otherwise 40s, and then 20s for the Seward Peninsula and the northwest. For the lows the next morning, shaping up like this, 10 to 15, North Slope and Arctic coast, lower 20s back across Seward Peninsula and Kotzebue Sound, mid-20s St. Lawrence Island, and looks like 30 to 35 southern Alaska here. And for the panhandle, about the same. Highs in the lower 50s there, maybe mid-50s, southern southeast coast. Again, no change, about the same for the central, south central Alaska. Lower 20s up along the Arctic coast, otherwise 30s and 40s everywhere else.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Looks like some IFR up here over the western North Slope, Brooks Range actually, across the western North Slope and then to the entire western Arctic coast. Actually just inland a little with marginal VFR out along the coast. Lots of marginal VFR interior Alaska, Bering Sea, Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, patch of IFR out there in the west central bearing, and a little more widespread IFR occurring here all along the southeast coast, areas inland, right on up to the eastern North Gulf Coast into the Wrangell Mountains, and then marginal VFR. Looks like VFR there, Cook Inlet, south to Kodiak Island, and just west of Iliamna Lake there, north of Bristol Bay. And for the afternoon, widespread IFR shows up now from the Koyukuk and roughly the Kobuk Valley into the northwest, all of the North Slope, Brooks Range, central eastern Arctic coast. Marginal VFR, much of the interior, some spotty areas of IFR, Nulato Hills, for example, and maybe the White Mountains here. Otherwise, IFR all along the eastern border here, the Panhandle, and the entire southern half, with IFR from the southwest coast, back across the Pribilofs, all the way off the map there, and more IFR lingering just near or south of the west central Aleutians. And then for Wednesday afternoon, we've got some IFR up here over the eastern North Slope areas, back down into the Brooks Range. And IFR, eastern Bering Sea here, reaching the coast barely there, Nunivak Island to Cape Newenham, but not quite into Kuskokwim Bay, but marginal VFR across all the southern interior. Marginal VFR, the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, now creeping into Kodiak Island, marginal for the entire southeast coast. And for passes tomorrow, Anatuvik, IFR, same forecast for Adigan, IFR at times for both those passes there in the Brooks Range. And Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, while rainy starts out IFR and improves to marginal. And windy, IFR improving to marginal VFR. And for Isabel, same trend, IFR early on and then marginal hopefully by the afternoon or into the afternoon. Mentasta, marginal VFR. And then Tanita, IFR to start and gradually improving throughout the day to marginal conditions. Portage, same trend, IFR to start, becoming marginal. Chilkoot and White, IFR from start to finish for Tuesday. And for the freezing levels here, you can see 2,000 feet plunging way down off the chart there, and then making a rebound back out here over the western Aleutians. And also here, this area of warm air has been moving eastward. Now we've got 10,000 foot freezing levels here, just barely reaching the southern southeast coast. So quite a gradient here across the Panhandle, and that usually signifies where the jet stream is. Got good southwest flow following that thermal gradient right into the Panhandle tomorrow, 2,000 feet North Gulf Coast. And for icing, areas of considerable moderate rime icing, central Panhandle, all the way up to Cape Yakataga, the Yakutat area, with icing more of the isolated moderate into the southeast interior, and some areas kind of scattering out the farther west and northwest you go. And this really not that significant an area here, staying west of the Pribilofs, could graze the eastern Aleutians a little bit, maybe Atka. And for the jet stream, upper level low, northwest Alaska, strong jet along the Aleutians, 120 knots, driving right up into the Panhandle from the southwest, and northwest 70 there along the southwest coast. 9,000 feet looking like this, west, southwest, 20-25 right through the interior, lighter on the Arctic coast north slope, and 25 to 30, maybe even 40 out over the Gulf of Alaska from Kodiak Island, and then picking up to 40 to 45, good southwest flow right into the Panhandle tomorrow, and 30 to 50 knot winds there coming into the western central Aleutians. 3,000 feet looking like this. Not much difference, southwest flow, but not quite as strong here at this elevation as at 9,000 feet, 20-25 into the Panhandle, even 15 to maybe 25, which would be the stronger winds will be down along the coast here. Kodiak, Barren Islands, 30 knots, 25 into Bristol Bay, and 20 to 30 knots up here south of this low center. And then out west there, 25 to 35, they're coming across the Aleutians to the Fox Island areas. And as far as turbulence goes, looking like this, areas of kind of a widespread area of light to isolated moderate chop here, St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound areas, Selawik Valley, Kobuk Valley, Brooks Range just to the south, Panhandle, a little bit of turbulence, moderate chop over areas of the Aleutians.
We have cleaned over 1,500 miles of shoreline now.
Basically, it comes down to just human muscle. I mean, we use chainsaws and knives.
We find stuff from like Russia and China and Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia. It really doesn't matter where it comes from. We all just have to clean it out.
Our goal right now in the next 10 or 11 days before the end of this year is just to see how much we can collect before we get to remove it.
What you see on the beach is a fraction of what's out there. You can pretty much break it down into 3 or 4 things. Water bottles, a lot of water bottles, styrofoam, fishing nets, fishing buoys. And that's 99% of what you find on the beach. Basically just go along with chainsaws and muscle and get the garbage, put it in sacks, and then from there we haul it up above the log jam so it's out of any heavy surf or winter storms if it's gonna stay there for the year, and put it in super sacks. So yeah, we just progressively work down the coast, just day in and day out.
We have like daily goals for ourselves that like if we're working at a pretty good rate, we like to keep on pace with about like, I don't know, about 20 to 25 super sacks a day. So this is pile 102, and in this pile right now we have 2 super sacks and 1 set of buoys. June 23rd here, this is what we've done today. We're up to 25 super sacks on the day, and I think for now we'll call it and just keep cleaning until tomorrow.
My name is Hannah, and I represent a organization in Japan called Japan Environmental Action Network. With over 20 people working together to clean up the beach, this is amazing. Like, we all need to work together to, clean up the beach as much as possible. So like every single time I go back to Japan, I talk to the fishermen, and the fishermen's like, it's a joke, but they're like, if you find any buoy with my logo, you gotta bring it back, and like always looking out for that stuff.
The crew's awesome. I mean, we're all skiers or snowboarders, and we're all friends. I mean, we're all good friends. My dad started it. He's the man behind the desk. He makes the ball roll for sure. He works hard. He doesn't give up easy, which is good.
This stuff is uplifted quite a ways during the earthquake. Well, I think my bag's about full already. Yeah. I'm gonna take a quick look back in here, see what else is back here. The thing about marine debris is it's kind of a hidden problem. Unless you're out there, especially on these remote beaches that are so heavily impacted, people don't see it. I remember probably a good 20 years ago, I was out on the outside of Montague Island, flew out there, and I was just utterly astounded by all the garbage out there. You walk out there and you wade through this stuff and you go, this isn't right, this shouldn't happen.
I think a lot of it's just awareness. I mean, I've been boating out here for a long time, and I wasn't even aware of how extensive the marine debris problem is out here, but it's a consumer world out there for sure. I mean, I don't know where people's values are, I guess, but mine is you got to kind of have a little bit of respect for the environment, and considering we live in it, especially in Alaska. I mean, a lot of people like the outdoors and like to be part of the outdoors. That's why they live here, and it's they don't necessarily want to see it trashed.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at Monday's sea ice analysis. Really just about gone in the Bering Sea now. And there is still some shore-fast ice east of Gamble there in the lagoon. And Cook Inlet now sea ice free and getting pretty ragged up here along the northwest coast, all the way even onto the western Arctic coast there. And so moving on to the marine forecast, southwest 10 to 20 or 15 to 20 on the south coast there, 7-foot seas, and 20 to 30 knot southwesterlies on the north coast. Lynn Canal south 30 knots. Small craft advisory is also out for Stevens Passage for 25 knot winds, light south winds 10 knots for Clarence Strait. And we've got 15 knot winds coming up for Wednesday here, 7 to 8 foot seas on the south coast. And about the same, but more sustained in the 20 knot range here for the north coast. Lynn Canal, no change, south winds 30 knots, 6 foot seas, coming down to 15 knots though for Stevens Passage. Northwest at 10, staying light there for Clarence Strait. And Prince William Sound tomorrow, southwest breeze at about 10, 2 foot seas. Southwest 20, 7 foot seas here for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Small craft advisories here. Several areas, western North Gulf Coast, Barren Islands, Kachemak Bay, and southern Cook Inlet for west winds at 25 knots, more southwesterly for the inlet here, and down to 15 north of the Forelands. Outlook for Wednesday, southerlies at about 10, so continue lighter winds, and southwest 20 here for the areas from southern Cook Inlet, Kachemak Bay, 15 to 20 knot winds here out of the southwest, Barren Islands, western North Gulf Coast, east side there, west at 20. Winds stay light for Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island, westerlies 20 knots across the island there from Shelikof Strait, and west 15, Bristol Bay and the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Same thing for the south side as well, from Sishmaref up to Castle Cape, and then northwest 15 from there on up to Sitkinak. Then for Wednesday, pick the winds up here. South-southwest 25 knots. Small craft advisories back in the picture for the Alaska Peninsula. Southeast 20 for Bristol Bay. Southwest 15, Kodiak Island. Seas 6 feet on the east side here to 3 feet, Shelikof Strait. And southerlies at 20 from Sitkinak to Castle Cape with 6 foot seas. Out in the Aleutians, western areas, west-southwest 20 knots, 9 foot seas there, not too bad. And the central Aleutians, not too bad either, 20 knots from the south-southwest. And the seas running 6 to 9 feet. Southwest 20 for the Fox Islands with 7 to 8 foot seas. Outlook for Wednesday, increasing that a little bit. Now we got 25 to 30 knot winds here for the Fox Islands, and west to northwest at 25 to 30 knots there. Nikolsky back toward Adak with 8 to 10 foot seas. 20-25 knot westerlies farther to the west with the lightest winds west of Kiska Island. And for the southwest coast tomorrow, 15 knot breeze out of the west. Same thing for St. Matthew Island, south 15 for the Perbalofs. St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound, west winds 20 knots. And then for the next day, those drop down to about 10 knots there with the Norton Sound seas falling to 2 feet. East 10, St. Lawrence Island. Northeast picking it up here. Small craft advisories north are all along the southwest coast. East-northeast 25, northeast 25, St. Matthew Island. Southwest 15 for the Perbalofs. Up along the Arctic coast, central all the way to Demarcation Point. East 20 tomorrow, northeast 20 on the west side. Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, north 20, Cape Thompson down to Bering Strait, northwest 25. So small craft advisories there with 4 to 5 foot seas. And then for the next day, Wednesday, west 15 here for the Chukchi Sea, and then 20 knot winds west out of the northeast, 15 to 20 knots on the west side. Lighter for the central coast down to 15, lighter yet. Barely a breeze there on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast out of the east-northeast. And for tonight again, wave developing on this front, scoots northward, and so it's going to keep the North Gulf Coast on the wet side the entire night, Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula, some of that getting in the Copper River Basin to a certain extent, and also sliding into the northern southeast coast, light rain, isolated showers down to the south, areas of snow, blowing snow, wind advisories out for tonight again, gusts 40 miles an hour in central interior areas, especially higher elevations, and snowy and breezy up over the northwest tomorrow, and front pushing eastward there keeps the southeast coast wet, especially to the north, and trough scattered rain and snow showers over the eastern interior, and a weak system out in the Bering Sea strengthens a little bit and spreads wind, rain, and snow into the southwest coast and Alaska Peninsula, and pretty nice over the southern interior, northern interior, colder and snowy. Well, that's a look at the weather for tonight. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.